everybody.
What's up?
We're here for the Wrestling Through the Years podcast. It has been a hot minute, as the kids say. Last week, me and Doug were at SmackDown, which is in Barcelona tonight. But they were in Philly last week, and we went, and we had a great time. And we got to see Cody Rhodes and go, so we had a great time. Oh, Cleneth's here. Cleneth, welcome to the show. We got C Money.
Stop.
What up?
Not much.
Eric was gonna call him shithead.
But
I would never do that to Cleneth.
it kind of seemed like you're gonna. But all right, we got MoneyE, and we got Dutchie and Dizzy, and we got Cleneth, and we're all Team Money, and we're all here to do the video game rankings. But we weren't here last week. Me and Doug were at the SmackDown in Philly. It was a great time. We got to see a pretty good show. We got to see Jay Cargill beat the hell out of Naomi. Poor Naomi turned heel and got her ass beat twice. But we're in a world with a heel John Cena. We haven't addressed the folks in a while. We will do a breakdown and talk a lot of the current stuff soon. But tonight we're talking video games. 2K25 just came out. It's a banger. I pre-ordered it, so I got it last week. Before we get into the discussion about the video games and the rankings and everything and the criteria, what's everybody's history with video? Cleneth, did you play a lot of the video games? And when you did, what was your favorite? What's the best wrestling game of all time?
All right. So, a lot of my favorites, I would have to say, I'll have to go to N64. I was a big fan of the 64 platform, WrestleMania 2000, and No Mercy. I didn't really play much of the WCW, but WCW Revenge and whatnot, even though that was all right, fire, all the control, because of the controls. It was just easy going.
Yeah.
It came to like Thunder when WCW tried to make game for PlayStation. It wasn't good at all.
Oh shit. We'll get into Doug didn't like that. We'll get into that. But
are you serious? Are you seriously going to like the Thunder on PlayStation?
Yeah. So here's my reason why. When I got a PlayStation when I was 13, one of the first games that I got that wasn't the stupid fucking demo disc was Thunder. And I spent a lot of time playing that, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I happen to have some fond nostalgia.
Bullshit. That's funny.
I played that on like the demo disc, and I thought I was like, yeah, it's going to be fun, but it's like, nah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I actually thought WCW Mayhem was better.
That was like the back case one, right?
Yeah, that was the black case.
Yeah.
But we're here to rank the game. All right, Eric, favorite game of all time?
Ooh. Probably either the first Raw vs. SmackDown or the second.
So right, SmackDown versus Raw. Mine will always be
SmackDown, the first SmackDown.
I feel like there's two cliques. There's the Cleneth clique where the N64 in the back of the day and No Mercy. And then there's me and the people that grew up in my era. And for us, it's SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain. That is still one of my favorite games I've ever played in my life. So that would be my answer. What do you got?
I'm like the PS2 era.
Yes, the PlayStation 2.
Mine would be SmackDown versus Raw 2006.
Okay.
Because of the GM mode, and you can find because in the GM mode, not only do you get to make matches, but you get to negotiate contracts and if guys were happy or not. You sign guys to like a 5-week contract or something like that, and like you get to deal with the contracts, and you get to deal with. I mean, I don't think they were really they didn't do the email part back then.
Yeah.
But they did like because now like that they brought the GM mode back, like they have like the emails and everybody's bitching like
Yeah, they had something like that. I think in 2008 for the last edition of it.
yeah.
But all right. So the criteria for tonight, gentlemen, are 5 categories where we will rank these video games on. Is one, the roster. You need to have a great roster to have a good video game. The graphics, because if you want it to be something to look at, the gameplay, which is the most important, modes and match types, because you like variety in your games, and entertainment, your overall fun you get out of it. That's our criteria tonight.
Sweet.
For the laptop. And we're going to start with a little game called Legends of WrestleMania. This was WWE's attempt at doing something different. I think it was around the time of SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. And this was on the PS3 and the 360. And it was their attempt at trying to pay homage to the history and stuff. And, really show WrestleMania. I remember it for slow gameplay. Does anyone else remember playing this game?
I remember because you were actually able to download, and our buddy Kenny did this. Kenny West did it. You could download the SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 roster.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. I know it sounds familiar. I was thinking about it. I was like, yes, that sounds so familiar.
So SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, you could download that roster on the Legends of WrestleMania, and you could have both rosters on there.
Yes.
What I remember it for is I remember it I liked having the Legends on there, but it was slow gameplay. I mean, the roster was okay, but the roster was better if you could add SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 on there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the roster now.
But I just remember you and me being like, why is Michael P.S. Hayes in the game? He was never at a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you did have The Rock, and you had, Stone Cold and Dusty and Andre and Bam Bam and Big John Studd and Honky Tonk and Jake the Snake and some awesome managers like Jimmy Hart, Paul Bearer, and Fuji. You had a pretty good eclectic roster.
Coco Beware was on there too, wasn't he?
I believe he was. Yes, he was. And you had Kamala and JYD and Neidhart and Hunter Hearst. And I liked this is just the roster, so we won't get into too much else.
The thing is that you named Kamala. Kamala never wrestled at WrestleMania except for the WrestleMania 17 in the Gimmick Battle Royal.
Yeah.
He belonged in there as much as Michael Hayes belonged in there.
Mm-hmm. I felt like their attempt at the Showdown Legends of Wrestling games.
Yeah.
More than an homage to WrestleMania. And some of the
modes
modes.
Look okay. I looked at the roster.
Based on the roster, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 because I think they hit on a lot of the – and, you have Hogan, Austin, and a lot of the guys that made WrestleMania, but there was some, key missing factors. The fact – it would have been like a 3 or a 4, but the fact that you can import SmackDown versus Raw bumps it up to a 5 for me.
Yeah. Demolition wasn't on there, right?
I don't think they were, no.
Let me see.
No Demolition.
I mean, you were missing some key players, I think, on there. Like Demolition.
Yeah, Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
No Macho Man.
And you had Arn, but no Tully.
Yeah. What up, Sean?
Big Sean. He's got a new name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ric Flair and Rick Rude.
I mean, there was an omission of some guys that really meant a lot to the early years of WrestleMania. Yeah. So I'm going to give it, you said 5?
Yes.
I'm agreeing with you.
The Legends of WrestleMania video game is what we're talking about right now, Sean. And anybody knew.
So here's what I do.
No Macho Man.
So here's what I think. I think if you did not have the SmackDown versus Raw, this game would not have been as fun to play because you needed to download that roster into that game to make it more enjoyable. In my picture, because I tried playing the baseball, I'm like, I couldn't do it. But putting that roster in there and then having the double amount of roster and with the graphics, and then having the dream matches of everything and everyone to put together made that game worthwhile playing.
It did,
So-
but we gotta admit that it felt a little weird though, because the graphics of SmackDown vs. Raw 09 were not the same as Legends of Wrestling. So when you had the two different, like, if you had fucking like John Morrison versus Coco Beware, it just felt a little weird because it's like two different like character models going at it. But I do agree that it helped make the game.
Yeah,
But I always thought that was weird.
yeah.
All right, so what are we all giving it? I give the roster a 5.
I gave it a
I'll give
5.
it a 5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 5 as well.
All right, 4 5s. We're at 20 going into the second round here. And
Sean's
Sean's a fun guy to have in the comment section because I remember playing a lot of these games with him growing up.
Well, he came in, gave a quick rating, and then dipped out.
You can't blame him.
Yeah.
All right, the graphics. Personally, I do think this is a pretty game, and I do think like they look because you got like a mix of like it's kind of SmackDown versus Raw, but it's also kind of like when they were going to that All Stars road. Like it's a little arcadey looking, but it's not too arcadey looking, and I think it gives it like kind of a cool look. And I don't mind the graphics. It's a little like cartoonish, and that's kind of what you want it to be. I don't hate this, but I don't think it's anything like stellar or super like perfect. So I gave this a 5 as well.
For me, graphics wise, I felt like they were still keeping up with the times. Yes, they went a little bit towards the All-Star version. I mean, I'll say 7.
All right.
I'll be a little kind.
Look at you.
I'll go in the middle and say 6.
All right.
Graphics, I have to give it a 5 as well.
All right. Sitting at 43 points right now. And we're going to go into the most important thing, gameplay. That's kind of the worst part of this from what I remember is I remember it being a little clunky and I remember games not being as fun. And I remember it being kind of slow. Like I felt like a lot of these Legends again and Showdown's guilty of this too, but it kind of felt like just a slowed down version of a wrestling game.
Yeah.
And like I get it, you're focusing on holds and making every little moment count and stuff, but it felt a little bland. And there was some cool stuff you could do, but like as far as like WrestleMania moments, it didn't feel like you could live out some really cool shit. Like they didn't have the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian and the Dudleys to do the TLC matches and stuff,
Right.
and some of the more spectacle things at WrestleMania.
They didn't even Martel wasn't even in this game, right?
No, I don't believe so.
So that you couldn't do like the blindfold match or whatever.
Yep. No blindfold.
So for me personally, rating the gameplay, I'm gonna say a 4 because I wasn't really a fan of the gameplay. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. And like I will say, the gameplay to me, that was like probably the worst part of it. So I will give it like a 3 for gameplay.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Cleneth and say 3.
4 and 2 3s.
Yep.
I'm gonna give it a 3 as well. Or no, I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay.
So we're at 57 points. Yeah, it could have been funner.
Yeah.
That brings us into the modes, which I do remember this having the cool feature of the recreate, relive, reimagine, or whatever the deal. Whereas there had certain things that, just like in the new game, where you can try to change history and like stuff where like some guy lost, you can have him win. Like I think you could. I remember doing the Iron Man again with Brett and Sean, but you could have Brett win and stuff like that. And those were fun little features. In
Well,
the game.
the only difference now is that like you actually have to have like the guy win. Like you have to be that guy and you have to have him win in this Road to WrestleMania type deal, or the history or whatever, so you can unlock certain stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's kind of how it is in the new one too.
Well, that's what I was saying about the new one.
Yeah. But no, they have different ones where you can reimagine it now.
Oh, okay.
For the Bloodline one, you can have like certain ones that Bloodline members lost, you can have them win now. And like they have stuff that you can redo. And that's how like this one had as well. You could also relive moments, but you could like reimagine them. And I remember that being a cool for like someone that likes to do different shit in my video game stuff and not just relive the stuff I watched all the time. It was cool to try to like change history a little bit. It didn't really, it was like surface value, and it didn't really, like, they didn't show you what happened after the fact and stuff, but I thought it was pretty cool. I would give the modes a 6.
All right, 6. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say 6 as well.
We're to 69.
I'll give it a 5.
5. Cleneth?
I'll give it a 6.
All right, we're sitting at 80 points so far for our first game.
What's the last one?
Entertainment.
All right. We have because like I said, the gameplay boggles it down. Like Cleneth had the great point. Putting in the roster really helps for SmackDown versus Raw, and that was awesome. And some of the modes are cool, but actually playing the game, I remember feeling like a bore, and I would always want to do something else. And when you pick up a game, that's not what you want to get out of it. So there was some fun stuff to do, but I don't think enough. I would give this a 5.
I remember because Kenny's the one that had the game, so I remember playing his and not really being impressed enough to want to go buy the game myself.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say 4.
I'm gonna say 3.
Do I hear 2?
Cleneth? What are we going to do?
I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay.
James, you have to go.
Why?
Good. I want a phone.
Ooh.
Don't worry.
So we all had
What's
some
that?
fun.
That was Clinton's nephew.
Okay.
Well, don't jump to conclusions. It could have been anybody. He could have
I mean, kid's not getting paid for a service on the show, that's for sure. I mean, none of us are. So.
Me and Eric got some money.
Right.
So the total is 97.
Okay.
That's pretty good for starting out. I mean, Royal Rumble 88 started out at.
Yes. So make sure to have an official ranking at the bottom.
Official ranking at the bottom.
Yep. Do it now.
All right. So it's
You forgot the game, didn't you?
oh no, Legends of WrestleMania is the game. I'm just trying to figure out where to put it because if I'm ranking it,
No, I'll do it. You're fine.
all right. I'm a boob.
All right. Next up, fellas,
Ooh.
we have a game.
What do you
A
got?
lot of people liked playing in the Ruthless Aggression era on the PlayStation 2. But what a lot of people forget is that WWE had games for every system back then. So they had the Raw series, which was typically on the original Xbox. They had the WrestleMania series, which 18 and 19 on the GameCube, and then they also brought Day of Reckoning to the GameCube. And then you had the SmackDown series on PlayStation 2. So we're going to head over to Day of Reckoning, the third GameCube game, and something kind of completely different for them. I remember them having a killer soundtrack.
I never played none of the GameCube games.
Really?
Nah.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, the only GameCube game I probably played is Mario.
Yeah, I mean, Mario GameCube to me was on one for Smash Brothers and Mario Kart. That was
Dude,
it.
WWE had some cool shit on the GameCube.
I remember Day of Reckoning. Did we have that or did we play Kenny's?
He might have brought it over. I remember playing it with him a lot.
I remember liking it, but I remember that kind of being like the last game that GameCube made.
But if the whole fucking squad hasn't played it, then I don't know. What about let's tap into.
All right, I'll cross this off.
Well, you can leave it for a different one.
All right.
We'll go back to it at some point because they have to be ranked.
Right.
They have to be ranked. The original SmackDown versus Raw for the PlayStation 2.
Ooh.
Technically, it would have been SmackDown. Would it have been SmackDown versus Raw 2005? Technically,
Yeah. It was the first one, so it wasn't called anything. It was just SmackDown versus Raw.
I remember liking this one, and I remember when I did like the career thing.
Yeah.
And I made Hardcore Holly the WWE champion.
It's the only time that'll fucking happen. So
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about video games. All right. And this was the first, because like I said, PlayStation 2, you had this era where you had games for PS2, you had the SmackDown, you had Day of Reckoning and the WrestleManias on GameCube, and then you had Raw, which is especially atrocious. I don't know if anyone played. My buddy had an original Xbox, and I remember going over and playing Raw and being like, what the fuck is this? Come over to my house and play here.
Yeah,
we don't have to do this.
I forgot that Xbox and PlayStation had two different wrestling games.
Yeah, and so the GameCube. Until the 360, but the one that was released on both PlayStation 2, and I believe this was on Xbox as well, but it might have just been PlayStation 2. This was kind of the last big one for PlayStation 2. Even though, actually, 2006 is PS2 as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
SmackDown versus Raw, this is the end of the SmackDown, because SmackDown for the PlayStation is a beloved series. Where from Here Comes the Pain to the original one to Know Your Role, the second one to Just Bring It to Shut Your Mouth. Everybody loves SmackDown. So to bring Raw into it and to do SmackDown versus Raw and like a Battle of the Brands thing and JR on the commentary in the trailer saying the world will never be the same. And fucking it was cool. And it was something different. Now talking about the roster, the one thing, Here Comes the Pain. And the reason I love that so much is 2003 when that game came out, their roster was impeccable at the time because all the WCW guys with the Turner contracts finally came over. So you had a game with Kevin Nash, Goldberg, Scott Steiner, Rock, Hogan,
Sean
Austin.
O'Hare, Ultimo Dragon.
Yeah, which was cool to have like deep cuts like that. And The Rock, and then you had also legends and stuff. And that game had such. So going into this one, you would think it would be more, but this one you have, the Garrison Cades of the world, and it was cool having Tajiri in there, but you had like Rico and shit, and Mark Jindrak, and Charlie Haas, and the roster really. I think our legends, whatever. I think we only had how many legends do we have? 3, 6, 9, 10. 11. Okay, so we have like 11 legends. We have our legends are Andre the Giant, the Legion of Doom, Animal and Hawk, Bret Hart, Brutus Beefcake, Jimmy Snuka, The Undertaker as a legend, Masked Kane, Mankind, The Rock, and Roddy Piper, which isn't a bad list.
Not a bad list at all, and I think that's one of the only WWE games, well, besides Legends of WrestleMania, that actually had Brutus in it.
Yeah. But you take out basically Goldberg, Nash, Hogan, Austin. Like that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, because they weren't involved with the company at the time.
Yeah. So for those reasons, I do think it takes it down a little bit. And I'm only going to give the roster, I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm going to be a little kinder. I'm going to say 7 because I do feel like they still had a really good roster of guys in 2007 or in 2004. So, I would say 7 just because like you were able to kind of go in and if you played the career mode, you were able to make unbelievable guys the champion.
Yeah, it's true. I just think the roster was much more sharp the year before, and that's what kind of makes it stand out for not being as good.
Right.
But they do still have some cool things in there. What do you think, Cleneth?
I want to give it a 6.
All right. E Nasty?
I'm gonna agree with my compadre here and give it a 6.
All right. We're sitting at 23. I think that's higher than Legends. Going into graphics, I think that this is one of the prettier PS2 games. This is visually better looking than all the previous SmackDown games. This is the one quality that I think that they had pretty locked down. The entrances look more realistic and cooler, and all the animations look better. And they were really trying in the graphics department. So I would actually go as far to give this one an 8.
I liked the look of this because they were starting to do the thing to where because in games prior they would have the like when you're talking you would they would have the words written down at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Well, here your character still has to pick the words and they'd be read at the bottom of the screen, but everybody else would be talking. So you'd hear everybody else's voice. I like that. I'm giving that. So I'm giving it an 8.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it triple 8.
I want to give it a 7.
So what is it at, Doug?
54.
All right.
So already it's really blasting past Legends of WrestleMania.
All right. The next one is gameplay, right?
Yep, gameplay.
All right. I think the new modes introduced, which we get, by the way, we've been doing the brawn panties since Attitude Era. Now we get brawn panties in the video game. I remember Little Humber being like, but, and I remember playing the Buried Alive in this and having a lot of fun with it. And that was a really fun match type. I remember this.
Bring that back.
Well, this is gameplay, not match type. Match type is with modes.
Yeah, but it's part of the gameplay a little bit. So I think the gameplay in this had there was a lot of fun stuff to do, and I thought the wrestling mechanics, and I thought like the dirty system that they because this was one where they broke kayfabe and were like you got bad guys and good guys, so you had your heels and your faces that was dirty and clean. And the good guys would do stuff like hype the crowd or jiggle the ropes, and that would give them a boost. And the bad guys would give you a low blow or a finger poke in the eyes like Ric Flair. And then, that would build up their XP or whatever, or for a finisher. And I thought that was a cool thing to introduce for a wrestling game. And that's not really ever been done before or since.
Right.
Yeah. So the gameplay, I think there was a lot of fun matches. This is when they were getting towards a little more simulation based. I thought there was fun stuff to do in this one. The gameplay, I would definitely give I give it an 8. I had a lot of fun with this one.
This was a really fun game for me to play.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say 9.
From what I remember, I'm gonna give it an 8. I thought it was fun too.
I want to give it a 9.
All right.
I want to give it a 9.
It's 17, 25, 34.
We're at 88. Something tells me we're going to beat Legends of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless we all go zeros.
On this, in this category, definitely not.
Now we got modes
I know.
and match types. And like I was saying before, the bra and panties match gets introduced. We have the buried alive match, which was so much fun in this. I remember the Hell in a Cell being so much fun in this game. The ladder match was cool. This had a various amount of match types. They do the create a pay-per-view, which is kind of bare bones, but it's fun if you want to create a show.
Yep.
The create a wrestler in this one's definitely expanded upon. You had a good creator, and that means a lot to a wrestling game. And their career mode, which I thought was really fun, and like Doug kind of alluded to earlier, they were talking during. This was the first one there was no text, which does make for some awkward stuff because you can have anybody be the main guy. Like I remember playing as Kane through the story and him doing a thing where he's banging Tori Wilson. He's like, "Hey, sexy," and it's like Kane's talking how he wouldn't talk.
Remember, your guy, like the guy that you were, he would still have to use the words at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
But like the other guys, like they wouldn't, they would talk.
Yeah. But they would
is
say
so
shit
cool.
that was out of character.
Yeah.
All the time.
I remember there was a mode
I
when
played the career over like 8 times,
Yeah.
by the way.
when
Corrected me.
well, that's my thing. When I was Hardcore Holly and I had was I Hardcore Holly or was I Benoit? Because I think I played it 2 different, as 2 different guys. I think the first one I might have been Benoit, and then the second one was Hardcore Holly because I did one for SmackDown and one for Raw. So when I was Benoit, there was a thing I was wrestling. I forgot who I was wrestling against, but the referee had been taken out. And so Shawn Michaels comes in and says, the referee's been taken out. And Bischoff goes, well, who's going to referee? And Shawn goes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then like it's same story later on when I'm Hardcore Holly, WWE champion, but it's JBL being like, I'll do it.
Yeah. They definitely, and it was cool that you could pick between Raw and SmackDown,
Yeah.
but it definitely had like a
repeat.
Yeah, it was because I remember the first storyline, whether it was Raw or SmackDown, you were fighting over a girl. And I remember on SmackDown, it was Renee Dupree and Tori. And I think on Raw, it was Tajiri and somebody. I forget who the chick was. But it's like the same thing to where they're like yelling at their girlfriend in the parking lot. And and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like either Renee Dupree, like, hey, you got to take Fluffy to no. Or it's Tajiri, like, and I'm not doing that accent. But I'd like to keep the show, Eric. I'm not trying to piss anybody up, but
I know, right?
but I don't care. But still, I'm still.
I was gonna say, like, we've been on kind of a roll, so I'm not even gonna do it.
But to Jerry would fucking say it, and like some of the storylines, it definitely, whether you were on Raw or SmackDown, it felt. I thought Here Comes the Pain did a good job of like giving you different scenarios. This one kind of felt like you're gonna like go through the same path no matter what show. It was nice having it with different guys though, and I do think they had like dynamic enough stories to make it like a really fun story mode. So I will venture out. We didn't rank this yet.
Not yet.
I will give the modes in this because I thought that gave you more to do, and I think this is the first one to feature an online mode. If I'm even, so I think you could do that back on the PS2. So I would give this 7 out of 10.
I'm gonna say 8. Like, I had a blast with this game, because again the career mode where you could do the where you could do all this stuff and you can make Hardcore Holly WWE champion.
That you were so happy about that, huh?
It was a thrill for me to make him and then like I remember
I got an idea.
I remember I actually thought about making Hurricane World Heavyweight Champion, but It's just like because they do try to make it to where like it like a little level of difficulty.
Yeah.
And plus, remember back in those games too. Now it's a little different because you're allowed to do like the man versus woman. But like Rey Mysterio couldn't suplex the Big Show.
Yeah.
Like,
well, even now they still have that in there where the little guys can't take up the big bruisers. It's the same thing.
oh, you can still do it now?
Yeah, I mean, like you have to have a certain attack level damage. Like if you're Andre the Giant and I'm Rey Mysterio, I can't pick you up and put you over my shoulder unless I did like hit you with the chair a bunch of times or did a few 619s.
Yeah. But like back then, even like in that certain situation, you still weren't able to do that.
Yeah, and that is a cool thing to it. Eric, what would you give it?
I'll give it a 7 too. I agree with you, Dan. Yeah, Daniel, right? You gave it 7.
Yeah, my name's Daniel. All right, Cleneth.
I'll give it a 6.
The modes didn't do it for you as much?
Yeah, modes didn't really do it for me that much.
All right. Going into overall entertainment, I had a blast with this, and I played this a lot as a kid, and I've gone back as an adult and had some fun with it.
116 is the score, by the way.
Yes, I know. Right now, I would give this for entertainment. I would give it a 9 out of 10. I remember playing this more than a lot of other wrestling games.
Well, because it was fun. I mean, I'm going to give it a 9 as well.
And I played the GameCube games. Like I had a GameCube. I played the GameCube games. I played the Xbox games with my buddies, but I was always a PS2 kid. And to me, the PS2 had the best wrestling games. And I had so much fun with this one. What are you going to give it, Doug?
I said 9.
I'm going to give it a 9 too. Very
Clever?
fun and entertaining. Hours of playing when you have to go when you need to go to sleep and you're still playing.
Yeah. I'll give it an 8. Great.
Great. We're at 151, far surpassing Legends of WrestleMania 97.
All right. What did Eric give it?
I give it a 9.
And Cleneth said the same?
No, you said 8. So what's it? 151.
Cool.
All right. Next up, we're going to go to the PS1. And Cleneth kind of alluded to N64 being a great era of games and then the PS1 having a little trouble at first. And boy, was he not wrong. What came out first, Warzone or Attitude?
Warzone.
Let's talk about WWF Warzone.
Oh, Lord. I had this one, too.
And I remember playing
So this, I remember. I had a choice between getting Warzone on 64 or PlayStation. Had it all set up. And the guy talked me into get me out of a 64 and said, you know what? This game would be better if you played on PlayStation.
What a lying sack of shit, huh?
Well, no, to tell you the truth, the way the N64 controller was and all the inputs and controllers, he's right. It was better on PlayStation than it would be on N64.
The problem is it just wasn't a good game.
It wasn't a good game, but like the inputs, and you can say the same thing with that in Attitude. They were both like awful control wise, and then they finally branched onto their own different systems.
I remember with Attitude, I remember the only thing I could do on that game was just punch and kick.
Yeah.
I could not figure out the fucking controls to do the special moves. It had to just be punch and kick.
This was so awkward. But let's talk about the roster, which only has 15 guys, by the way. And this isn't like No Mercy is the perfect thing capture of the Attitude Era on video games. Because by the time the games I like come out, we're in the Ruthless Aggression era. But for like an era into like, because this is like we're getting into the Attitude Era. This is exciting. It came out in 98, right? So this is
Well, it's a 97 roster,
Yep.
but it came out in like early 90. It came out in 90 or early 98. Yeah.
so your roster consists of Ahmed Johnson, Bret Hart, Bulldog, Dude Love, Farouk, Cactus, Goldust, the Headbangers, Kane, Shamrock, Mankind, Owen, Shawn, Austin, Taker, Triple H, and The Rock. So you had a pretty good capture of that era, but you were missing a lot of bells and whistles.
Goldust wasn't on there, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So Goldust was on there, but no, or Shamrock was there yet.
No Vince.
There was a lot that you were missing. Like Attitude had a better roster.
Yeah.
Uh
It was fun playing as Ahmed Johnson, though. I remember, and I remember the little mini like scene with him in the one car, like talking. For some reason, I remember that as a kid.
yeah.
And he like I remember like thinking, oh, this guy's a badass. And then like I would like asking you about it. He's like, no, he didn't last long. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, I mean the roster, I think it has enough for that era. And like you're not like now, of course, we're spoiled with fucking 2K25. We get over 300 guys. But for back then, it's not too bad. So I'd give it a 6, actually.
I'm only gonna say 5. I mean, yeah, you had the main guys on there, but like I like a big roster. That's why I liked Attitude so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 5
Came with
too.
Bret Hart, though, right?
Yeah.
See, I'll
I'm
give
giving
it a
5
4.
too. I believe this is my first wrestling game I played.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Nostalgia. Cleneth gave it a 4.
All right, I got that. What is
Erection.
5.
Well, we're sitting at a solid 20. Same as Legends.
I remember the cover, Stone Cold on the cover. So
All right, going into graphics. This one was rough.
yeah, but it was also one of the earlier games.
Yeah. I personally think that Attitude looked better.
Oh yeah.
And especially like the Dreamcast version of Attitude is probably the best version. This game just it had, especially the PlayStation, you had that polygon shit to where everyone had triangle noses and stuff. And it was I like old stuff, and dude, I have a Dreamcast and I have my PS2 over here. I love playing retro stuff. Graphics that I'm judging it for the time, but for the time I think there was better looking PlayStation.
I agree with that.
All right. So graphic wise, I want to say the graphics wasn't that good. But what made it good was the intros when you played the challenge mode.
Yeah.
Challenge mode. You get this superstars challenge you to middle random matches, a steel cage or the weapons match in it. The video graphics in there. That was good.
Yeah, the chairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look good. But the actual people and character models didn't look that high.
No, it didn't. So I'll have to give it a 3.
All right, so he gives it a 3. I'm gonna go. Actually, fuck it, I'm agreeing with him. I'm gonna say 3.
I'm going to say 3 too.
I was
Doug
looking
like-
for a way to try to debate with you a little bit, but I'm like, he knows what he's talking about.
He's
So
right. Eric,
I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna be a little nicer.
what a rebel.
Or is it because you guys?
It was 90s graphics.
Yeah, I took that into account, but I was like, nah, I just can't, man. After
Because didn't like NWO Revenge was around that time and it looked great.
yeah, and
what I was a 64.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. But even the 64 version of this game did not look as good. Like, I don't know. There was something about it.
PlayStation. See, that's the one thing I didn't like. I think PlayStation did not really know how to make like wrestling games. I mean, even when you put it on the 64, the game was still trash. And what made it worse is that the controllers didn't match it. I had the actually strategy guide for Warzone. Because-
I remember
the big book.
guide.
yeah, I had the big book.
Yeah,
I
the
bought the big-
strategy book.
You remember those fucking things?
I love strategy guides.
Like
so
the
much.
fucking like they look like
Well,
they're
I wanted to know how. So I bought it, and then I said, you know what? And then I realized I looked online, found a website where I could just print out all the stuff myself. So I stopped buying strategy guides.
Yeah,
I went on the website and printed it out myself.
yeah.
Well, they were like $30.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
strategy guides along with Blockbuster are among the things that got shot in the head with the internet. You know, that shit, like once people could go online and be like, oh, I can find out how to play the game on here. The companies that sold the strategy guides were like, fuck. But I remember and I miss, and sometimes I want to go back and collect the old one because I remember sitting there with my PlayStation playing and then fucking going through the pages, and that shit was fun as hell.
But I know one thing. I am looking at getting that new version of 64 was going to drop.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the advertisements for that. I'm looking at it too.
Yeah, it looks cool. All right. The gameplay.
Hey.
Like,
This is the whole this before the thing. And this is the one where the announcers are fucking going off before. At least in Attitude, they cut that. But I remember in this, all you hear is JR and Vince, he's getting ready for like 10 minutes. And you're sitting there like, all right, cool, let's get into it. And then they finally fucking go, and you're like, it's the most awkward gameplay of all time. Like,
yeah, the announcing was off.
if you play No Mercy right after this, you'd be like, how is this a game?
Well, knowing that, you compare it to attitude. It's like, why?
Yeah. But I mean, Attitude was kind of the same a little bit. It was improved.
Now,
But
did they do full theme, full entrances, like theme songs for this?
Warzone, they didn't do full, but the only time they did the entrances is when you was in the challenge mode. Like they'll do like
oh yeah,
they go in there, they'll do a special ring at the ramp, and then they'll walk down. Where Attitude, they did the whole full entrance.
Right, that I remember because I remember just picking certain guys just so I could listen to their theme song as they're walking all the way down.
and that's the crazy part. This is the first Acclaim game, and there's like 4 of them because you have this, you have Attitude, and then you have the ECW ones, Hardcore, whatever, and Anarchy Rules.
Right, hardcore
Hardcore Revolution,
Okay.
and Anarchy Rules, and all of those games kind of played the same. Like all the Acclaim games are very fucking similar, and it's all they have them doing that at the beginning, and it's all very similar.
Yeah, for some strange reason, I love the ECW ones.
Yeah, there's nostalgia with that, and especially in the second one when they had more of the hardcore modes. But this one, the gameplay, I think that's probably takes it down the worst. I give it a 2.
I'll give it a 1.
recreate- 1, yeah, I like that. You can't recreate Rock and Austin in this. You can put them up against each other, but you don't feel the magic.
I'm gonna agree with you, Dan. I'm gonna say 2.
I'm gonna give it a 1.
All right. We're sitting at 39.
And don't forget the inputs you had to do just to do the moves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the combos and shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like nostalgia for a lot of people playing this game, but it wasn't. I remember, I think I got this like a couple of years after it came out. I remember I had like a gift card or something for Toys R Us.
Yeah.
And I was like 14, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have this game yet, so I'm going to get this game. And then I remember going home, playing it, and being like, God, this game sucks.
Do you remember how much it was?
50 bucks.
Not back then.
What? Warzone?
Was it 40?
No,
No, because I think I had a $25 gift card, and I was able to get it. I got it for like $10, I think.
Well, you had a gift card.
Well, it was a $25 gift card.
Hey, you probably got. You say you waited. I bought mine on the release.
Well, yeah, I bought mine and game came out in like 98. I bought it in 2000.
Oh,
See, that's why it was cheaper for you.
You're fucking hilarious. They're talking about state prices. We're talking about 2 years after the fact.
I misunderstood.
You're like, yeah, at the bargain bin I got it at. It was $3 in fucking 05. No,
you probably can't find it now.
No, you can.
Yeah, you
Or
can.
at retro stores.
Yeah, I've seen
Okay,
it.
okay.
We still have added to it.
Yeah, I still have Warzone and Attitude too. Well, I had to get if it only played on my PlayStation 5, I would definitely play it.
And me and Doug and Eric was over. We were playing Thunder. That's why Doug made a face when you started talking shit about that. Because we had.
Well, I'm sorry, but
you're not wrong. You are not wrong. It is a hockey game.
I mean, the only thing Thunder really introduced me that I liked about Thunder, it had Bret Hart in it. Okay, that was Bret Hart's like debut in my WCW game.
And we'll review it later on, or maybe in the next episode. But the video packages beforehand and that and Mayhem were pretty cool. Of like the guys before, like you could press the preview and Hulk Hogan's like, "Pick me, brother." Like that shit was pretty cool.
See, I like that. Yeah, like the gameplay, like especially trying to play it now, it's like, oh my god, this was fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's the same thing as Attitude, where you're trying to mash a bunch of things just to fucking do a suplex.
Yeah.
But all right, modes. This really did. I mean, it had some different match types. You had the Battle Royal, you had the Hardcore. For the N64, you had the Royal Rumble, and that was only for that. You had a submission match. You had the Decree of Vince McMahon, which was pretty cool. It's a weird decree to have. There really wasn't. There wasn't like this was back when like your career mode was just you facing a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the WWF challenge. And I think it ended like a grudge match.
I think something like that, yeah.
But there wasn't a lot there. Besides, they had a few different match types and they did try. So I'll give it a 5.
I'm gonna go below you, and I'm gonna say 3.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say 6.
Why 6?
From what I remember, I mean, considering I think it was my first one, if I remember correctly, I just thought it was fun for that time. As a 13-year-old I was, so yeah.
It took Eric's wrestling video game virginity. That's why he likes it so much.
I mean, I was 13 at the time, so I'm trying to think back at as a 13-year-old. Wow.
Nostalgia plays a factor for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have a show on Saturdays where nostalgia plays a factor.
Yeah. When you remember growing up for something, even if you go back and realize it's ass, you have those fun memories of it.
Yeah.
What did Cleneth
Especially if it's your first or second game.
I'll give it a 2.
All right. There was no modes in this.
Well, look, the steel cage was just a steel cage. There was no ropes. There was no nothing. I'm sorry. The weapons match was the best match they had in the game.
Would I buy it now? I don't know.
See, at least in the ECW ones, you had the barbed wire ropes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to entertainment. There is a nostalgia factor. This is like an Attitude Era game, so it's fun. There's a fun aesthetic to it. But going back and playing it, it kind of makes me want to jump off a roof. So I would give it 3.
I'm gonna say 4. I mean, probably not jump off a roof, maybe like jump off a fucking snowbank or something.
Something small.
No.
Or I'm not breaking my fucking neck.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, now entertainment. When I was a kid, I played the mess out of this game. Especially me and my cousins. We enjoyed playing this. Especially I had the multiplayer 4-player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we was all able to play at once instead of taking turns. And so I will give it a 5.
All right.
And then I had a Game Shark. So that's also.
Uh,
Wow, I remember Game Shark. I don't think I used it, but
did everybody score? Eric gave it a thing ready. Or no.
Eric, what'd you say?
I said 5.
What does that put it at there?
Let's see, 7, 12, 19. 74.
All right, that's definitely third.
Ouch.
Legends of Wrestling's beat
Ooh.
that. Or no, I think it's 72, isn't it? Because it was at 67 before. With Clint.
I had it
Yeah,
at 55.
I didn't think.
Or no, or because I did 55 plus. All right, so 7, 7, 12, 17. Oh, shit. Yeah, no, it's 72.
72.
Wow.
Like that,
Someone needs to go back to math class.
That's why I got a calculator ready. 72. All right.
I failed math a couple of times.
I could tell.
That's why you have the 3 of us.
Oh, yeah, we're such help.
No, I was good at math.
Well, I mean,
No, I was.
He's a smart guy. It makes
no,
Shut the fuck up. But WWE 12 is going to be our next game. WWE 12.
Oh.
The new era. This is SmackDown versus Raw is no more. 2011 is the last one. We're in the PS3. I remember in middle school with my homies on Universe mode on this, really loving it and fucking. I think the road to WrestleMania was cool that year.
Oh yeah.
I got this for Eric for Christmas this year, actually, for his PS3 because he's been playing his PS3.
All right, I'll be back, guys. I have to go do something real fast.
All right.
Yeah, I have to get the PS3 from you guys.
Yeah.
But
But
I have to come over.
yeah, we'll see. But no, I'm just kidding. We'll have you over soon. But WWE, shut the fuck up.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding. You're great. WWE 12 was
I should charge you $5 for every nipple touch.
you'd be a
Hey.
million.
Damn right.
This had a great roster. You had unlockables like Brock Lesnar and Batista, and you had the roster at the time. You could play as fucking Alex Riley and fucking Sin Cara, and you had Booker T.
Oh yeah, that's right. Axe and Smash and Demolition were on here. I remember that because I remember us doing the Royal Rumble, and we were actually both Axe and Smash
Yeah.
in the fucking career mode Royal
Freaking
Rumble.
Alex Riley was on here.
And one of us won the Rumble as Smash, and it's like, how the fuck is Smash gonna main event WrestleMania in the fucking career mode?
I remember me and my buddy that I grew up with, we used to love doing GM mode on the old games. And this didn't have that, but it had the universe mode. And I remember him being like, I'll run Raw, you run SmackDown. And we would pass the controller. And it was so much fun. And I remember making Alex Shelley the world champion. And I remember making Sin Cara and I think Rey Mysterio were tag champs. And I had a whole fucking I was running WWE better than Vince was at the time, in my opinion. But I thought that fucking I had so much fun with this game. I thought the roster was actually pretty loaded for the time. If you compare it to a nowadays game, it's another one that doesn't quite hold up. But I think you still have over, I think, maybe 100.
Yeah. Yoshitatsu.
But you have
Yeah, I'm
some
looking
really-
forward to playing this when I.
and you get Awesome Kong in a video game
Yeah.
for WWE.
It's karma.
Yeah, it's a really cool around the time if you want to play as Michael Cole. So this roster, I'm gonna give it an 8.
It's kind of hard not to score it high, so I'm going to say 9.
I'm going to agree with my compadre here. Which one do I choose? I'm going to agree with Doug.
You motherfuckers.
All right. Well, the score is going to be a little low because Cleneth took the powder.
Well, he'll come back and we'll get all his rankings, Bubba. My big bald genie.
You can just give an overall score.
We're sitting at 26. We're still sitting higher than Legends of WrestleMania. Without
Yeah,
question.
and Warzone. Warzone sucked.
All right, the graphics. I think for the time, this was a beautiful game.
For PS3?
For-
Yep.
For 2012 PS3 360, I thought this was a great next-gen game. It didn't look as great on the Wii, but none of the games ever did. And I thought this one was a very cool looking, and some of the stuff we'll get more into it in gameplay. But I thought it was this one had the different camera angles, and this is when they were really trying to be like WWE television. So instead of just a straight shot of like the crowd in the background, the like basic angle for a wrestling show like a basketball game, they have like a little more dynamic shots to where when Triple H hits a pedigree, the camera will turn over and then it'll like go off to the crowd, and it tries to make it seem more like a spectacle. So for that reason alone, I'll give it an 8.
Cleneth, are you back?
No.
Guess not. Well, because somebody took his thing off mute.
Oh, I'm back. I'm back. Can you hear me?
I'm back. Back in
Oh, good. All right, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
You remember WWE 12, Cleneth?
Yeah, I played 12 once, but that was on demo, so I wasn't really. I was more. I started skipping every generation after that. Like I didn't play 12, like own it, but I did play it a couple times, and that wasn't really. I like 13 better. If you ask me.
What would you give the roster though? You had like Batista and Brock and some cool unlockable.
Yeah, the roster, I'll definitely give it a 7.
All right, and now we're on graphics as well.
All right, you gave the graphics an 8, right?
the.
I'm gonna give it an 8 as well.
We're at 33 going into this.
See, the graphics, I'll give it to them. I'll tell you the truth, since it's like Fleet PS3, I will definitely give it a 9.
Eric gave it an 8, or I gave it an
You did,
8. Okay.
I thought.
He just gave it a 9.
Yes, I did.
All right.
I give it a 9.
And Eric didn't go yet.
Nope.
I give it an 8.
All right, we're at 66.
Well, it's already doing better than SmackDown versus Raw.
All right. Next up, the modes. Or no, it's gameplay, right?
Yeah, we were on graphics now. It's
So the
gameplay.
gameplay. Like I said, the dynamic shots was cool in this. I thought the moves, this is when they were leaning into that simulation-based gameplay before they went to 2K. They were getting away from that SmackDown, like kind of arcade pick up and play feel, and more into like a simulation chain wrestling, like arcade, like less arcade feel. And I do think that this did a good job at it. I'll give it a 7. I thought this is a fun game to pick up and play and do a match.
Yep.
It's not perfect, but it's fun enough.
I'm gonna say 8 because I did it.
Again. I'm gonna give it an 8.
I'll give it a 7.
We're at 96. Going into modes. This one had a lot from what I remember. This is the universe mode, and I remember the sandbox. And like I said, me and my buddy, we used to go off in this, and we would create our own shows. And I think we would try to like make WCW and stuff. And the road to WrestleMania was a lot of fun in this. And you would start as like I remember you did the heel run as Sheamus, then you did a hero thing as Triple H. And then you did a created wrestler with the voice of Austin Aries. And the created wrestler.
WrestleMania. I think there's a Road to WrestleMania mode.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That's like the main story of the game. And there's 3 different paths. You have the Sheamus one, the Triple H one, and then the Created Wrestler one. And I thought all 3 were pretty fun. They're not as fun as like back in the day ones like SmackDown versus Raw, like we were talking about. But I do think like it was a fun addition, and it is a fun like thing to try to beat to unlock some guys.
Yeah.
And it was fun playing through storylines. But the Sheamus, like they were doing a United Kingdom. I think that was the stable name, and we got like William Regal and Wade Barrett together and shit. And, like,
It makes a lot of sense because the 3 of them did hang out a lot back in the day.
They're all from England. I mean, all from Europe.
I think Del Rio was in it too, which maybe not. But no, it was it was a cool story mode, and the Creative Wrestler and this was really good. So, did we all give us a score yet or not?
No.
I'm gonna give
For
it
the
an 8.
mode, I'll give it a 7 again. Eric's going 8.
I'll go 8.
And I'll give it a 7.
All right. Now the last. How much fun did we have? The entertainment. What entertainment value did we get out of this? Can you play it for hours and hours on end? I remember doing that back in the day. SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, I think I might have slightly had more fun with that one, though. And I remember Universe and that being good. I remember this one being cool, but I kind of missed the SmackDown vs. Raw feel of it. It didn't feel that different also, so it was like, and like Cleneth said, 13 was kind of better. This one was cool, and I liked the soundtrack, and the gameplay was fun, and I had fun going through different modes and stuff. But out of all the games I've ever played, I don't know if I'm going back to this one as much. I'm gonna have to cap it out at a 7 again.
I'm gonna give it an 8, considering I can't wait to play it now. Since you bought it.
I'm going to agree with you, Dan, this time and say 7.
You're gonna love it. 7?
Yeah.
Clement?
I'm going to give it a 6.
All right, it's number 1. It's beating SmackDown versus Raw.
Yeah, only beat by 3 points.
So I have an interesting game to see if you guys did you guys play the TNA game?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. That was TNA Impact, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Let's go away from WWE. Let's go to TNA. And let's talk about how that Booker T is the most beautiful Booker T character model. The meme's still out to this day of like WWE 2K20's Booker T compared to that one. And TNA in like 10 years before that, and that game looking way better than him in the new games. So like they had like and we'll get into that in graphics. But the TNA game was a lot of fun. Let's get into the roster.
Wow, look at this roster.
It was a small roster, but it was a really good roster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only, and it was cool having like Scott Steiner and also like some X Division guys like Shark Boy and Sanjay Dutt, and then Christian was there, and you had AJ and Abyss. And
Curry Man.
it did. I remember hating though having Kevin Nash in only in the suit. And you could only play Kevin Nash as a suit. And I was like, this is a badass Big Diesel, Big Sexy, and I can only play as him dressed as like an accountant.
Yeah, because of the story mode, right?
Yeah.
Which we'll get into that later, because I enjoyed the hell out of that story mode.
I think the story mode was worse. That in the gameplay was just like wasn't my type of thing. It was so hard to do. Like I wound up taking mine back. That's how bad. That's why I didn't like it.
You and I can never agree on anything. Thank God we're not married, because it would be a horrible marriage.
Well, it would be an odd couple too. But there was about 30 guys in here. The DLC included Curry Man and Petey Williams and Mike Tenay, but which is cool. But I thought this had for the time and for a PS2 game. I didn't mind the roster. I remember all the job guys that they put in the story mode, and the introduction of suicide, which ends up, being on television and actually becoming a character bit from this game. So for that reason, I'll give this roster, because I do think it encaptured TNA pretty well. It could have been bigger. I'll give it a 7.
This the only TNA game they had?
Yeah, I think it's the only TNA game they made.
Yeah. There was a mobile game, but that's it.
I'm giving it a 9. I got a lot of nostalgia for this.
See the roster. I will admit, I love the roster, so I want to give it a 9 as well.
Oh, shit.
Well, at least we're agreeing. So
Just looking at the
For
roster,
now.
I'll give it an 8 too.
For now, but I had to really dive into this because me this game. This is the game I got on a bargain sale.
Yeah, it was a bargain bin game.
This was a bargain bin game. I got it for like $4 at what's his face at GameStop, and then I wound up taking it back.
I remember getting this game. I remember pre-ordering it. I pre-ordered it from it was called Game Crazy at the time, right?
Yeah.
From this place called Game Crazy, and it was like because I never really pre-ordered many games, just usually like the WWE stuff. So I pre-ordered this. My buddy Kenny went and picked it up for me. The boss over here got to play it first, and I'm like, "How is it?" And he's like, "It's awesome. It's a great game." And by the way, I think when it came out, it only cost like $20.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Can we go back to those fucking days?
When a game costs $20, yeah.
It's just spent.
I got good for that game. Good price drop down to $20.
Oh God, I
I
wish
wish games were $20.
I think Grand Theft Auto is the only game that's still out for this many long and still you have to pay full price for.
Yeah.
The only games that are cheap these days are the simulation games.
Yeah. And,
But they're fun.
If you want to play as a goat, that's about it. The WWE. I just paid $100 so I could play 2K a week early. So they get you.
Wait, you got the deluxe or did you get the?
I got the dead
package?
man.
Huh?
I got
used
the
to have
dead
the
man.
$80 game.
I got the second tier one. Like I didn't get
Yeah.
the.
Well, the second tier one is good because now all it is you just added into season pass with it. So if you think about it like that.
And literally the only thing missing is WrestleMania 41, and I already downloaded that off Community Creation. Someone made like a perfect version of it. So, that's the only thing I was missing, and now I have that arena. So it was worth not spending an extra $40. I love that game. I'd love to rank that in the future. I'm having so much fun with that. I think it's one of the best games they've done yet. That game is so much fun. But when we're moving on to graphics, TNA, kind of a beautiful game.
Yeah, especially for a game that nobody thought was going to mean shit.
Yeah, and the studio went out of business before they couldn't even make the sequel. They went under.
Yeah, because this was Midway, right?
Yeah. And I think it was like the people under Midway that were making it.
Okay.
I think they went under like right after, and they couldn't do a sequel. But this game was a pretty looking game, and AJ looks like AJ, and it's a great character model of him, and Jeff Jarrett, and everybody looks like the character models look great. The arena looks good. The 6-sided ring looks good. Like it's a good and capture what TNA looks like. So I'll actually give it a 10. I think the graphics this is like probably the best looking game we've talked about. And we've talked about Next Generation once. Like this is kind of
somebody finally bowled a strike.
Like this is about as pretty as fucking, WWE 12, and that's years later.
So I'm gonna say 9. I really did like the graphic. I mean, I wouldn't go perfect on this, but
you wouldn't strike it.
Yeah.
And the next gen versions, because this was on PS2, and that even looked really good. But the 360 and the PS3 versions of this looked even better. I had
it for the PS3.
Yeah, I played it on a 360.
So that one looked even more pretty. But I remember even liking the way it looked on the PS2, and that was the old gen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure on the Wii it looked interesting. I didn't play it on the Wii. But yeah, what would you guys give it for graphics?
I'm giving it an
That's
8.
why I gave it a 7.
7 and 8? We're at 67. Now we're going into gameplay. I think this was a lot of fun to play. And, well, I mean, the match types we'll get into in modes because I think that's what makes it. But just the core gameplay of it, I do think it did have that little bit of the feel of, from what I remember, of that every guy kind of feels the same and does the same moveset.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like AJ was doing spiral taps and doing all of AJ's different shit, and everybody had their distinct fit. It felt like everybody was doing the same arm drags and DDT. It felt crisp and it felt good, and it wasn't clunky at all. It was a smooth game, but it didn't feel like it felt like it was like motion capture for one guy, and they copied it and pasted it to everybody. So for that, I'll knock it a little bit, and because it also with the Ultimate X guys, you didn't really have the X Division guys flying around like they could have been. So there was a little bit of that, but I would only give the gameplay. It was fun to play, but I'll give it a 6.
Sweet. And those reasons right there is reasons why I didn't really like the game. It's the gameplay itself.
Everything else about it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the graphics and the roster, yes, but like the gameplay and all that other stuff, this is why I had to give that thing a 4 top. 4, that's really nice. 4.
I'm gonna say 5.
I'm gonna say 4.
4, 5, 6. We're at 86. And now we're going into the modes. Now, this is one of the strong suits because, like I said, when you have a story mode based around a created character, like a custom character, like for the game, that breaks out and becomes a television character that actually kind of draws a little money and people show up to the TNA shows to see him for a little while. Like, Suicide was an over character on TNA television.
Yeah, for a while.
For a little bit. So, and that was all based off of the game. So that's pretty cool. Now, it did have a lot of, like, you were stuck in Mexico for a while, fucked up, and, like, having to wrestle jobbers for a while before you got to TNA. But the story mode did get kind of cool and branch out and do some things. I mean, there wasn't, like, branching storylines, but it was pretty linear. But it was fun to play through it. It didn't really feel like the full TNA experience, but the matches, like, the fact that we have a game with an Ultimate X match is awesome.
I loved it.
Because playing through that was fucking cool. Because you can never be able to do that in any other video game but this one. And that made it sick as fuck. Because I can't even recollect any other game that has that. The Ultimate X, and they had your fouls count anywhere and some other stuff. But that was the big, like, specialty gimmick match that helped sell this game. The creative
$28 on Amazon. I just looked it up.
Oh, Jesus. For PS3?
Yeah. If it was $10, I would buy it.
Wonder how much the PS2 won. But, yeah, that was the one big gimmick match they had. I don't remember, like, any, like, lethal lockdown thing.
It was no legal
I don't think
lockdown.
they had that.
No, it was no legal lockdown. It was just the only thing special about it was the Ultimate X.
Yeah. And the creative wrestler was pretty bare bones, so I would probably I would go another 6 for the modes.
I'll give it a 5.
See, I liked the story that they did with Suicide and all that. I'm giving it an 8.
I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm glad that we're all over the place. We all different.
Yeah. That's what
Well,
makes it fun.
you took away from the roster and the graphics. To me, the game wasn't really that.
It didn't feel it I agree with Cleneth. It looked like a TNA game. It
It
really
looked like a TNA game, and it didn't feel like, or it didn't play like one.
No. I completely agree. It did not feel like a TNA game. It looked like one, but it did not feel or play like it. Now going into entertainment, I did have some fun out of this, and this is one I could play for a couple hours. Just to have like matches like fucking AJ and Shark Boy and shit, and fucking Sanjay and Kevin Nash, and do an Ultimate X match and stuff, and play that story mode with Suicide. There is some fun stuff to get out of this game. For that alone, I'll give it a 7.
I was super entertained by this. I'm giving it a 10.
Holy shit.
Not.
I'm cutting it in half and giving it a 5.
You give it a 3, Cleneth?
I'm giving it a 3.
All right, Eric.
I'll give it a 5.
And we settle it at 134.
Not bad.
It's at third place behind WWE 12 and SmackDown vs. Raw. And it's before Legends of WrestleMania. So, all right. Well, SmackDown's about to be on.
Yeah, put me to sleep.
So, we will continue this at another date. This was a lot of fun, guys. Next week, because I know it's WrestleMania season, but listen, AEW just did Revolution. You got to celebrate the history of AEW, and those pay-per-views are on Max now. Next week, we'll be going back to the year 2020 and going back to when people actually really liked Mox, and we're excited to see him win the world title. And we're going to do Revolution 2020 next week.
I remember that actually being a really good show.
Yeah, Cody versus MJF. I can't wait to go back and watch. So. Yep. That'll be a fun show. That's when AEW was really hot.
Is this one with fans?
I think this was
this was February 29th.
Yeah, it was right before the shutdown.
Yeah, right before the shutdown. I remember this day pretty well. Vividly, because like the day leading up to it, like I could not fucking wait to get home and watch this pay-per-view because I was ready to kill. Still working at
okay.
some bullshit department store at the
Actually,
time.
it's about me. Okay.
Yeah, no, Eric wasn't even there. None of what happened that day was Eric's fault.
That's refreshing.
Yeah, this is when I left too.
Yeah.
Well, this is nobody on the call's fault. I never worked at Target.
Yeah, no, it was just like a bad day, and I remember just getting home and being like, "Oh, good, we're gonna watch Revolution." And then I remember people online actually, because Eric was talking about how great the pay-per-view was, and people online were being like, "Oh, you can't like it that much," and I'm like, "He can like whatever he wants to like. Go fuck yourself." Because I was ready to pick a fight. Like I wanted to murder somebody that day.
Well, thank God you didn't, and he never would, folks. But PSA. But no, Revolution will be a fun time. It'll be fun to go back to that period of AEW, and it was funny
when it was good.
Well, and it's funny because Tony recently on this last media call for Revolution, someone asked him about the improved quality of the show, and he said, "I've been pushing back on ideas more and going with my own creative. And that's why the show's getting better." And he said, I also, well, I'm not saying that to make fun of, but I'm just saying that's what he said. And he said, 5 years ago, I did the same thing right before the original Revolution. And the years going, and then 19, my New Year's resolution going into 2020 was to make Dynamite better going into Revolution and make Revolution a very special show. So I'd like to go back and see how inspired and how awesome the booking was. And I remember really liking it at the time. So I'm excited to do that. And, so we'll be here for that. Are we going to be graced with C Money's presence, or do we not know yet?
I don't know yet.
Right.
But I probably won't watch it. I won't find somewhere to watch it though, because I don't have that.
Well, we'll stay updated on that, and we'll get a breakdown soon for some current stuff. And make sure to check out the cartoon. The Cartoon Classic still going on tomorrow.
Yep. Tomorrow we're starting a wild card round. It's Rugrats versus Superman the Animated Series.
All right. So check that out. That'll be a fucking big Pardooski. And we're going to have a good time here on the network. We'll see everybody next time. Goodbye.
Oh, don't
Later.
forget.
Oh, we're on Discord now, folks.
Yes.
Yep, and I'll be going. I'll be actually going back on live in about half an hour for my final prediction for MLB.
And for people in the old school wrestling group, please stop posting divas in bikinis because we do not want to lose the group and we have 130,000 people.
Yeah. Look, we all love titties, but Facebook is, Facebook doesn't. So
Yeah, Facebook's getting real strict.
Yeah.
But that's another story for another day.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see everybody next time.
All right.
later.
Love you.
Later. Bye, Cleneth. Love you good.
Did he say it?
I think so.
I think you said it. We'll have to play back the tape. Bye.
Love you guys.
Love you too.